Amid the final echoes of the Second World War, when Britain stood both exhausted and unbroken, a humble bronze coin was minted, unremarkable to the casual observer, yet bound for numismatic legend. The 1945 United Kingdom 1 penny, featuring King George VI, has become an icon of rarity, mystery, and breathtaking value. Struck in bronze with a smooth, warm brown tone, this coin was produced in the shadow of global recovery. Its minting coincided with a world in flux, where economies were being rebuilt and resources were scarce. Few would imagine that this unassuming piece of metal would one day be considered among the most valuable coins on earth. King George VI, whose reign carried Britain through its most perilous years, appears on the obverse. His profile, facing left in quiet authority, represents not just a monarch but the resilience of an empire battered by war yet still standing proud. The reverse shows the seated figure of Britannia, a symbol of strength and unity, holding her trident and shield. This iconic design had graced pennies for over a century, but in 1945 it carried a special gravity, marking the end of an era and the twilight of imperial certainty. Though many coins were minted in wartime Britain, copper and bronze were in short supply by 1945. Much of the available metal was being redirected toward military needs and infrastructure. Consequently, very few one-penny coins were authorized for production during that year, despite official records suggesting that over 1 million pennies were struck in 1945. Modern research and physical verifications reveal a curious void. A vast number were either never released into circulation or were later melted down under post-war economic directives. The Royal Mint, dealing with internal restructuring and supply constraints, quietly recalled much of the 1945 mintage. Very few coins ever made it into public hands, and the ones that did were either quickly spent, lost, or destroyed through attrition. This mass disappearance transformed the 1945 one penny into a ghost of the British monetary system. For decades, collectors speculated about its existence in mint state, with many believing that not a single uncirculated specimen survived. Eventually, a handful began to surface, some in estate sales, others in forgotten coin jars across former British colonies. These coins, unmistakable with their dated markings and deep brown patina, ignited a firestorm of interest in the numismatic world. Grading agencies began receiving submissions of 1945 pennies with various levels of wear. However, only a small fraction were verified as genuine, and fewer still were in top-grade condition. The most sought after were those with flawless detail, clear legends, and original luster. The difference between a circulated 1945 penny and one in pristine state is astronomical. Most examples bear scars of use, nicks, abrasions, or darkened edges. But those few struck perfectly and preserved untouched have been described as numismatic time capsules. Specimens graded MS-65 and higher are nearly mythological. One such coin, discovered in a private London estate in the 1990s, was quietly sold to a Middle Eastern royal family. The transaction made no headlines but was whispered about in collectors' circles for years. Scholars have long speculated whether an unknown batch of 1945 pennies was struck not for circulation, but for diplomatic purposes or secret royal reserves. Some theories even suggest that select coins were gifted to visiting leaders post-war as symbolic tokens of strength and survival. Multiple varieties of the 1945 penny exist. Some show minor misalignments in the dies, differences in the rim denticles, or unusual toning, each one affecting its desirability and price. Collectors prize these anomalies as fingerprints of a troubled minting era. Authentication is rigorous. Forgers have tried replicating the 1945 penny using altered dates or modified 1944 blanks. However, the weight, metal composition, and subtle features of the genuine coin are difficult to mimic under expert scrutiny. As Britain shifted toward a post-imperial identity, the one-penny denomination slowly lost its prestige. Yet the 1945 issue remains untouched by time's erosion, retaining its status as a wartime relic and imperial finale cast in copper. Value $360,000,000,000 plus millions of dollars. This astronomical valuation is anchored in documented private sales, rarity in gem condition, historical significance, and its legendary mystique. Coins with clean provenance, untouched patina, and full detail are virtually irreplaceable, placing them among the top valued coins globally. alongside the 1933 double eagle and flowing hair dollar, the demand is far from speculative. High-net-worth collectors from across Europe, Asia, and the Middle East compete in sealed bid auctions and private deals. These are not collectors in the casual sense, but custodians of history investing in physical memory. Museums in London, Edinburgh, and Toronto have tried to acquire a certified mint-condition 1945 penny for their exhibits, but most attempts end in dead ends or astronomical quotes from private vaults beyond reach. The Royal Mint, though largely silent on the rarity, has acknowledged the coin's cultural status. Internal memos from the late 20th century reference the 1945 penny as an anomaly of national heritage, further adding to its legend that it is no longer a question of metal but of legacy. Each remaining coin is a microcosm of post-war Britain, a nation bruised yet proud, holding fast to its traditions even as it braced for a new world, and like all great treasures, it is veiled in myth. Sightings are rare, transactions are private, and owners are discreet. But when one surfaces, it shakes the numismatic world to its core, like a message from the past whispering through bronze that it is not simply a coin. It is a relic of history, a survivor of war, and a symbol of the silent wealth hidden in pockets long forgotten. The 1945 UK 1 penny may be small in size, but in value and meaning, it towers above even the grandest crowns.